You can't live like this anymore, Alla thought, hugging her 1-year-old son. She fell asleep only in the morning. In the evening Boris came back late and drunk again. There were family fights all night. My husband calmed down only at 4 in the morning. Falling asleep at first light, all in tears and with a split lip, Alla made an important decision. She had to leave home, run away from this man and from this place. How she managed to marry him in the first place, she remembers poorly. She came out of the orphanage as if from prison. There is nowhere to go, there are no relatives, there is no home, she is in complete ignorance. At that very moment Boris got in her way. His bride left him just before the wedding. Apparently, she had already realized something about her future husband and managed to take a step back in time. Boris swore to himself that, to spite his ex, he would marry the first woman he met. So Alla turned up to him at the most inopportune moment for her. They began to live in a civil marriage. Boris had his own studio apartment, and he lived in it alone. He was alone at all, he had no one, like Alla, and she thought that they were kindred spirits. Naive and trusting, she reached out to an adult man. It seemed to her that this was where she would find protection and peace. Alla did not yet know what kind of trap she had fallen into. At first, everything was fine, the girl found a job, the salary was small, but she was glad to be like this. Boris earned quite well, and the two of them had enough. The girl decided that she was lucky, and she pulled out a lucky ticket. At first, Boris was caring and attentive, apparently holding on with the last of his strength, but he turned into a monster when even a drop of alcohol got into his body. And alcohol began to appear more and more often in his life. Then maps were added to this disaster. It turned out that her roommate was a player, and a player with experience. At first, he carefully hid it all, then he spent almost everything that Alla earned on alcohol and cards. She had already intended to leave several times, but Boris was on his knees, crying, begging her to stay and tearfully promised that this would not happen again. But one last time was followed by another, then a third, and then she found out she was pregnant. There was no money for an abortion, and she did not even think about such an outcome. The girl loved children very much and wanted to become a mother. Boris was very happy with the news that he would soon become a father. He swore to Alla that everything would be different now. There really was harmony in their house for a couple of months, but then Boris went off the chain, as if he wanted to catch up. Looking at how others live, she did not expect the blessings of the whole world at her feet. And if Boris had never raised a hand against her before the birth of his son, then with the birth of the baby he began to beat her and found any excuses for this, as if he took out his anger on her for all his failures. Alla lay in bed with her eyes closed and remembered Boris's words that he had told her the night before that today he had lost her at cards to some guy whom he had seen for the first time. So pack your things, and from tomorrow you are someone else's wife, they will come for you in the evening. She couldn't believe it. She didn't even try to clarify what would happen to their son, because everything was already clear to her. He and Mishutka won't be here tomorrow. In the morning, she was woken up by the clatter of bottles and her husband's scream. "You're a bad housekeeper. You're a bad mother." However, after finding the remnants of alcohol, he recovered a little and went back to sleep. The baby began to act up, and Alla, taking the child in her arms, left the apartment and slammed the door behind her. "What should I do now? You can't go back." After buying a pie and milk, they had breakfast in the park. The idea of going out of town did not leave her, and she decided. After boarding the train, choosing the final station, they left the city. She chose this particular station because its name seemed somehow familiar to her. Somewhere she had already heard this unusual word, scree. It suddenly seemed to her that she had known him for a very long time, since childhood. Or maybe it has something to do with her family. After all, she doesn't know anything about herself. Who is she, where did she come from, and why did she end up in an orphanage? She doesn't know anyone from her family or even close ones. It says in her file, orphan foundling. Arriving at the station after lunch, the girl did not know what to do next. After walking along the platform between the women selling vegetables and fruits, she was already thinking of returning back to the city. Tell me, girl, what are you looking for at the station? Maybe you want to rent a place? One of the women asked. I want to, Alla replied confidently, although she had very little money. So Matriona lives with us on the farm, charges the guests inexpensively. It's not far here, about 3 kilometers away, and the woman waved her hand in the direction of the forest. Go, don't be afraid, it's not far, you'll find an old house. Alla picked up her son and wanted to ask this woman something, but she was no longer there. Looking around, the girl hesitated a little. She was afraid of an unfamiliar road leading into the forest. After a little thought, Alla decided to go with Mishutka in her arms. At the edge of the forest, the road turned into a narrow path, barely visible in the grass. The forest greeted them with coolness, the chirping of forest birds and the smell of flowering plants. The road was pleasant and easy. Mishutka fell into a sweet sleep in his mother's arms. At some point, the path split, and Alla did not know where to go. She went to the right, not even knowing why. She had already walked for about an hour, but the forest did not end, and there was no farm in sight, and neither was the path. My arms were numb from the weight. She realized that she was tired and lost. The girl decided to rest and sat down on a stump. Tears began to flow from her eyes. Why is she so unhappy? She left home, and got lost in the woods. And how do we get out now? How to find this farm? Suddenly she heard soft footsteps and the crunching of branches behind her. She turned around. The wolf stood very close to her and looked at her intently. Horror froze in the girl's eyes. She wasn't thinking about herself at that moment. All her thoughts were about her little son. But the wolf wasn't going to attack her, on the contrary, he was calling her to follow him somewhere. She understood this from his strange behavior. He left and returned to his former place. There was nothing left to lose, and Alla went after the animal. Soon they came to the very fork where she took a wrong turn to the right. The wolf went down another path, and the girl followed him. Soon a clearing appeared, and a house could be seen in the distance. The wolf entered the yard and headed for a large spacious booth. This must have been his home. Alla knocked on the door, but no one answered. Then she quietly entered the house. Do you want to rent a room? She heard a pleasant female voice behind her and turned around. The woman swayed and almost fainted, but grabbed the door frame in time. Check the box, baby. She returned to her native home. How did you find your way? Do you know me? Alla was surprised. The wolf brought me here, and I got lost in the forest. And who is this? And she pointed to the picture on the wall. An hour later, she already knew everything about herself. In the 90s, her father got in the way of some very influential man, and he promised to take cruel revenge on his family. The girl was kidnapped, and the father was killed. Her mother could not bear such grief and killed herself. This is her photo hanging on the wall. You look like 2 peas in a pod. I've been trying to find you, but to no avail. Apparently, you were thrown into an orphanage much later, because I visited them several times. Or maybe it was all paid for. The times were very mean back then. So this is your home, girl. It belongs to you by right. Dear viewers, if you liked this video, then like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.